Nice. So, welcome to another episode of the Strong, Healthy and Glowing podcast. My name is Sarah, and today I've got Justin Frandson with me. And Justin is an athleticism performance coach and author, and he specializes in a couple of different areas, including nerve work, and he also does a lot of work around electromagnetic stresses and various other things that can affect our performance. And he's been working in these sorts of fields for over 25 years. And he's authored a couple of books, including Athleticism, Whole Body and Whole Brain and Performance, which delves into the connection between athletic performance and the environment. And obviously, this is sort of right up our alley with whole body and whole brain and that link between the body and the brain and our performance. So welcome, Justin. It's great to have you on the podcast today. So I'll throw it over to you and let you introduce yourself in a bit more detail.
Oh, thanks for having me on, Sarah. Appreciate that. Yeah, so I'm a performance coach over 25 years, started athleticism.com, working with amateur and professional athletes. I do nerve work for sports performance and treat concussions and incredible fascia work as well. And what I saw about over a decade ago is our athletes breaking down from wearable technology. And so that's what really got me into the EMF space of non-native waveforms and understanding how they're so different than our electromagnetic body.
Interesting, because I know I myself have an Apple Watch, and I know quite a few of my clients have got wearables and that kind of thing. So that's going to be an interesting topic to delve into as well. But first of all, I'd like to ask you the question that I ask all my podcast guests. What does strong, healthy and glowing mean to you?
Well, it means your body is living in its purpose and it's one with the universe and flow with the universe. And it shows it through its glow because we're light beings. And when we're really glowing, that means our bodies are healthy, our cells communicate through light. So that means you're healthy, you have optimized vitality. And normally people really will see that when they're living their true purpose. And so that's what that means to me.
Nice. So yeah, really holistic health, which is awesome. So I'm guessing, you mentioned living in your purpose and that kind of thing, and I'm guessing you found yours. So can you tell us a bit more about the work that you do and that side of things?
Yeah, I was blessed to find it early on, over 26 years ago, and that's been super fun. I was an athlete that wanted to play at the collegiate level, university level, and I got injured, and so I couldn't compete. I was a tennis player, and both my wrists gave out. I think it was from lifting too heavy, and all the bones. There's so many in the wrist, and they shifted, and then I kept playing on it, and just had tendon ligament damage and more on both wrists. So unfortunately, wasn't able to continue on to play at that next level, and then I thought I could even go further than that. So now I'm able to help people achieve their goals and so much more as far as their sports performance. And then obviously with our curated health products that we've rolled out, we're able to introduce them to some just incredible products that can support their healthy, strong glow as well.
Yeah, nice. And we've mentioned, you mentioned EMF work and that kind of thing. And for those who don't know, electromagnetic fields. And obviously, cell phones, a lot of us spend a lot of time on our phones and that kind of thing. So how can those electromagnetic fields and, our phones and that kind of thing, how can they affect our health?
Well, it's really interesting, Sarah, when we start to get down to how we're made and what we're made of and how the universe is made, we're finding out that we're really one with it. And we're one with it on the waveforms because we both are made from these same waveforms. They're called scalar waves. And they're waveforms, Sarah, that distribute equally in every direction. And this is a really important concept to grasp. The sun's not a laser dot coming down us. If I drop a pebble in a pond, the resonance, the waves that splash from the pond don't go in a straight line to the right. They go in a circular resonance. If I stand in the earth to ground by nature, I'm standing in the Schumann resonance and getting earthing and grounding in one spot. I'm still going to get it in the next spot over. It's not just one little dot area. Same with our chi, our energy field. Our body has its own life force, its own energy field. They say it goes out about 6 to 8 feet around us, which is true, but it goes out all around us, not just straight out of Justin's left ear. So these are examples of scalar waves that every living being has a resonance, and we're one with the universe's resonance of waveforms, and how the universe feeds us and nourishes us and replenishes our body battery, if you will. The difference, Sarah, is all non-native waveforms, specifically electricity, dirty electricity, wireless signals. Those are all one-directional waveforms, or they don't work. So that's the big difference that I found.
And how does that actually how does that affect our health?
Wow. Well, this is a long answer, and it basically, it's every major challenge that we've seen with dis-ease in the body is directly correlated to electromagnetic radiation stressors. And it can be actually, let me say, it can be correlated to electromagnetic fields, which are native ones as well. Because when there's a cosmic shift in the atmosphere, an atmospheric pressure shift, our bodies will adapt to that as well. And that's what the book, The Invisible Rainbow by Arthur Firstenburg, highlights. Everything before 1889, everything before we introduced electricity into our homes, were times where people got sick all at one time in big areas where they couldn't necessarily pass something on to someone because they're so far away from them, but they got the same symptoms. Those were all atmospheric pressure, cosmic shifts. And then from that point on, the book highlights every major shift, from introducing of radio waves, satellites, radar, and then 5G the last several years. All those are directly correlated with rollouts of non-native waveforms. So Spanish flu, Hong Kong, World War II, obviously the last several years with 5G. So that kind of gives you a note on it. But to go directly to your question, it's all cognitive challenges. So you'll see, and I know you've heard about this, all the lack of focus, memory, anxiety, behavioral challenges, fatigue. Our products, the grounding bags, the EMF Rocks grounding bags, help with sleep. So those waveforms are really disruptive when we're wanting to get into a deeper REM sleep or alpha theta brainwave state for restorative sleep. So that's where you'll see level 1. And I'll go on to level 2 and 3 in a sec.
Yeah, nice. So sleep is so important for performance, for brain function, for basically everything that our bodies do. So we'll jump over to level 2 and that kind of thing shortly, but how does the EMF affect sleep?
Yeah.
So, and the science behind that, I guess, because being a scientist, fit for science.
And yes, Sarah, and it is science, literally. So when we start to understand the physics behind how we're one with the universe, and we operate at the same speed of a waveform and the same type of a waveform, this all starts to make sense. So when we're sleeping, are you familiar with the brainwave states, alpha, theta, delta, and on?
Yeah, we can cover those briefly for people who don't know, though, if that's of interest.
Yes. So when you're sleeping, your brain waves they measure the speed of the wavelength with like an EEG, and they can monitor it. So this is actual facts. Your brainwave state is in a 1 or below 1 to 8 hertz or waves per second. We're converting the hertz to waves per second, which is the direct correlation. So we have a really low and slow brainwave state when we're sleeping, and in a restorative state, a rapid eye movement state, 1 or below 1 to 8 hertz or waves per second. The Schumann resonance of the Earth is 7.83 hertz or waves per second, depending on the region and the season. That's another really low and slow frequency that we're one with almost, pretty much, when we're in that restorative state. When our athletes with athleticism.com are in the flow state, we call that an alpha brainwave state, where they can't miss, where people say, oh, that guy's in the zone, they can't miss, give him the ball. They're unstoppable. That is an alpha brainwave state at 8 to about 13 hertz or waves per second. So you're starting to see this really huge similarity between us when we're in restorative and performance states to the same speed of waveforms of being out in nature. Really, really similar. Now, to the contrary, our cell phones, just our cell phones alone, at 4 gigahertz, they're 2.45 billion waves per second of a one-directional polarizing waveform. So we're going from 1 to 8, they're at 2.45 billion. That's a 10-0 differential. Now this 5G, Sarah, is 60 to 90 billion waves per second. That's what they're going to notch it up to. And then they have the capacity to go up to 300 gigahertz, which is 300 billion waves per second. So let me ask you this. If I add 10 zeros to anyone's bank account, is that a big difference?
Yeah.
For sure. It's a game changer. So is when you introduce a one-directional waveform that's polarizing into our environment and have it in close proximity to us. It chips away at our life force in so many ways.
And what about, I'm curious, what about Bluetooth?
It's the same. It's about that same gigahertz, 2.45. So Bluetooth, they're a little lesser, of a speed of a waveform. The wireless signals measure, when you get a meter, like an acoustimeter, they're designed to measure the speed of certain waveforms and lengths. And so they're able to measure between 50 million waves per second on up to a few billion waves per second, or into the billions. I don't know how many billions, because I haven't had a meter that can actually measure it to tell me yet, because our meters meter out when you point at the cell phone. So this whole thing with like turning the signals up, we don't know what tech companies, cellular companies are doing to us, and we don't know what speed they're actually revving at, because our meters can't register them. The signal strengths are already too strong just with our cell phones. And then you point it at a cell tower, it's just like the sounds that these meters make. That's what our bodies hear. That's what our nervous system hears. Most humans can't hear at that bandwidth, but that noise pollution, plants' nervous systems hear, pets can hear at that bandwidth, and they can feel it too. Most humans don't hear it. It's flat out noise pollution. We don't hear that stuff, or it's easier to hear it when you're underwater, the pitches and how loud they really are.
And then going back to the sleep and the different states, the alpha, theta, etc., how does it all interact, and how does it affect those different states, and why are those different states important to us?
Well, you get into these restorative states, so your pineal gland is allowed to connect and to allow you to get into these states. And so essentially what happens is if you're sleeping, you have your Wi-Fi router in your room, Sarah, it's like someone tapping you on your shoulder and saying, hey, talk to me, talk to me, talk to me. At 3 a.m, you're going, look, I'm in this sleep right now. I got to get sleep and restore. And the thing just keeps going. So your brain tries to figure out what that bandwidth is and what's pinging it, because they're smart devices. They're always on. They're always broadcasting, receiving. So your brain cues into that. We call it twilight sleep. So you don't get into that deep restorative sleep. You get into more of a awake state. So you don't get to sleep and heal and replenish the body. So that's it on the sleep part. Really simple. I mean, these bandwidths calcify your pineal gland, so they don't allow you to get into it. It disrupts it's an oxidative stress. It dehydrates you. And there's so many factors that go into just the sleep component.
That's massive. Just for people who aren't aware, what does the pineal gland actually do in the body?
Well, it allows you just to connect above. It literally get into those deeper states and connect to the source. I feel that's probably one of what I would say one of the biggest things. And if you're not having that connection for the whole system to metabolize and function, you're gonna have your hormones really disrupted, and that's what it's gonna do.
Yeah, and so many of these things affect, the pineal gland is part of the endocrine system, and, it's involved in melatonin, which is important for sleep and that kind of thing. So I guess, yeah, really, really super important for us to get into those sort of deep sleep states that we need to rest and recover. So, yeah, so good. So I guess the other, getting back around all of this sleep and performance sort of situation, stresses, various different stresses can affect our sleep and performance. So what would you say are the, I mean, we've obviously talked about EMF and that kind of thing, but what are the biggest environmental stresses? Are they EMFs or other things as well?
Yeah, I mean, that's a loaded question. If you really ask like experts, what's the number one stressor in on the planet right now? And I'm going to go on record and say it's these non-native electromagnetic waveforms of radiation. And the reason I'm going to go and say that is because of the book, The Invisible Rainbow by Arthur Firstenburg, that categorized the history of electricity in life and directly correlates all these major times of dis-ease with rollouts of radiation. And a guy like Zach Bush, who's a good friend of mine, he's an MD, would say it's from glyphosate, and we have 40 years of research. Well, I would lean in and say, well, we have over 130 years of research of electricity. And when we roll that out, and how every level 3, cancer, suicide, diabetes, Alzheimer's disease, cardiovascular disease, and then even infertility now, all of them have gone up on that bar graph since 1889, since we introduced just electricity into our homes. And they've accelerated in rapid speeds with these non-native waveforms. We've never, ever in the history of the universe electrified our entire world to the level that we have with ionized radiation, broadcasting with this Internet of Things on the ground, and then with thousands, and soon to be hundreds of thousands of satellites from every country really coming down. And this is something that is unprecedented in the history of our planet. And with that, we have to understand even on the next level is what's the physics of our environment. So I lean in to you and say, well, Sarah and listeners, everybody, what is your environment?
Yeah, very, very good question. What's going on in the environment around you? And for a lot of us, it's, as you say, there's lots of cell phones and all sorts of things, internet routers and that kind of thing. So
Yeah.
yeah, and I know you mentioned glyphosate as well. So that then plays, I guess, into soil health and the health of our food. So does that do pesticides and that kind of thing play into some of these waveforms and that kind of thing as well?
Yeah, yes, they do. Let me get to that in a second and stay on with this kind of environmental trend or direction I was headed, and then I'll circle back to the glyphosate and all, and how Zach Bush really looks at it, because he has the ion biome, which really helps your gut restore from glyphosate. So, yeah, do you know about that one?
No, but it sounds very, very interesting. And I do talk a bit. I've done a couple of blog posts, that kind of thing on gut health. So super interesting. And obviously, with some of the training and that kind of thing, I do sort of gut health, weight management, weight loss, that kind of thing is of interest to a lot of my clients as well. So yeah, we'll dig into those down the track as
So
well.
definitely. Well, the ion biome is Zach Bush's product. It's one of the biggest sellers in the US for helping with gut health and helping restore that from all the glyphosate that's riddled in all of our food and now in a lot of our rainwater. And so when I ask the question, what is our environment? Like, that's a huge question. And it's really tough to answer, but I guess it's literally everything around us. And it can kill us, or it could instantly, literally kill us, or it can allow us to thrive. And so I'm going to lean in on the air, the atmosphere that's around us, and that portion of it, because that's where these waves and particles travel through. So our air is ether or plasma. Waves and particles travel through it. You're not supposed to see air unless you're in LA and it's all polluted and you could see it, right? So that's how we're able to communicate. You're in Australia, I'm in Southern California and Orange County area, and we're communicating through waveforms that are traveling through cable and what have you, and they're one directional. And so this is important because these waves and particles they're carrying, or our atmosphere carries this stuff. And Dr. Darren Weissman, he's an incredible chiropractor and so much more, but he developed, excuse me, a system called the Lifeline technique, and he harmonizes the body through giving infinite love and gratitude. Infinite love and gratitude. This is a sign language for I love you. We say infinite love and gratitude, and the body's energy and water, and when you say that, it starts to open up pathways and have more circulation, have more energy and excitement to it. So in his flow chart that he developed, when you get into the one of the parts for sleep, or for waves and particles through mind, body, or spirit, when he's connecting those areas, he'll go waves or particles or waves, and then the next correction is the REM patterns. So he'll have to connect and reconnect your REM patterns. Well, how does a wave or particle affect your REM patterns? Well, it says it does it just the way I said it, with a cosmic shift, in an atmosphere. So even with those pressure shifts, and they can be non-native shifts, our REM patterns are disrupted. So our body is one with our environment. When we're polluting our environment with one directional waveforms, it affects our chemistry secondarily, because it affects the chi, our life force of our body. So our waveform of our body, our bioresonance, our biofield, if you will. And then Bruce Lipton will say you can't have energy, you can't have chemistry without the energy. So it first affects our energy field that directly affects the chemistry in our body. So that's how we know that all these environmental stressors of electromagnetic waveforms can be, disruptive to us.
Interesting. Yeah, because It's so true. If you go back to like basic university chemistry, all the molecules and atoms do vibrate, and so it makes sense that then some of these, you know, waveforms will affect that. And you look at our life force, we have energy. That's even though that's sort of Eastern medicine, I guess, and some people sort of think it's a bit woo-woo, it's so true. Like, we have energy in our bodies, and when we feel really tired, we get into this sort of low energy state. And you look at that, what Eastern medicine would have called, chi or life force. It kind of correlates. It's really interesting because we get a lot of that from yoga teacher training as well. So yeah, I find this really interesting and fascinating. So let's dig a little bit deeper.
Yeah, so Dr. Martin Paul, he's out of Washington State University, and he discovered that literally the cells break down instantly just with low level electricity. So that's where we really know that low level is affecting us. So they call it the voltage gated calcium channels. Those are four big words for the gateway for mitochondria to get voltage, energy. That's the powerhouse of your cell. So if that's disrupted, even with low level electricity of 50 to 60 hertz or waves per second, just with electricity, which they would measure with a milligauss meter, we definitely know that as you increase the speed of the waveforms and they become more, they call them ionizing, you have non-ionizing and ionizing, they'll create a thermal effect and start to oscillate the cells, warm up the temperature of the body, similar to what a microwave would do. Obviously, when those speeds of those waveforms keep increasing, it's going to be potentially even more challenging for our body to assimilate.
Mm-mm. Yeah, interesting. It's fascinating looking at how some of these things, change and how they affect our health. Absolutely fascinating. So digging in there, we mentioned weight and weight management and that kind of thing before as well. So how, I know that's going to be a topic, particularly with the new year, a lot of people go, new year, I'm going to lose weight, New Year's resolutions and that kind of thing. So how does all of this, or how can it affect weight and weight management?
Yes, it's always a tricky one for a lot of people, because if your hormones are disrupted, your thymus is disrupted, you're going to start to carry more, weight potentially, and have to, figure that whole situation out. So EMFs disrupt all those areas, and so when you can get grounded by nature outside, you're going to start to normalize this stuff. When you recharge your body outside, you're going to see yourself start to heal and facilitate healing more. What the EMFs do, I think, and along with some of the other environmental stressors, glyphosate is definitely a big one, but the barium and strontium and aluminum from the chemical trails from airplanes are dropping to the cloud seeding, if you will, to modify our weather. I know it's going on everywhere, and that the barium destructures our water. Oh, the 5G destructures our water at 2.45 gigahertz. So the 2.45 billion waves per second is the first level that destructures our water. So it's dehydrating our planet and us. And then the barium is really messing with our fascia as well. And if you don't have hydrated fascia and you got to just replenish it with silica or diatomaceous earth, you're going to start to see your metabolism change. You're going to start to see your mobility change. Your body's going to be more rigid in structure, like a tree that's about to die. You can easily snap the branch. When you don't have hydration in your system's not flowing like a river, you're going to start to be more stagnant and start to carry more weight and not be able to assimilate and absorb and have the energy to process whatever you're putting in your system. So there's a lot of different components, I think, to weight and weight gaining. But definitely, if your hormones are disrupted, like we said, when you're sleeping, how are you going to replenish and start to heal? And then the other component to this is the electric car talk. Sarah, this electric car talk is the biggest nonsense ever. It's crazy to say, hey, let's lower the usage of electricity, but we have to make everyone drive a vehicle that you have to use more electricity to use the vehicle. It's crazy. And the direct correlation to health is 18% lower testosterone. So again, I keep going in these hormonal systems, endocrine system, like all these things. These are hormonal systems of your body that regulate different opportunities for your body to break down. And when they're disrupted, you start to change a woman's testosterone levels, and obviously a man, they're going to start to carry more weight.
Yep, definitely. So I want to dig into a couple of things that you mentioned there. We were talking about gut health and soil health and that kind of thing. And obviously, what we eat is going to affect our gut health. A lot of the plants that we eat, obviously, the soil health where those plants are grown. So can we dig into gut health a little bit as well? Any thoughts on gut health? And you mentioned glyphosate as well. So how is all of that interlinked, and how does both EMF and glyphosate affect our gut health?
Definitely. Well, the gut, they call it the second brain, right? And it's really is. And the fascia networking down there is just so intricate. But what I've seen clinically with our products is when I do lots of applied kinesiology, so muscle testing, and which tests the reflex of your body, the eyes, the teeth, the thymus, and your intestine area are the 4 primary areas that can get decharged from EMFs, or I call them EMRs, electromagnetic radiation. And that's huge, because if you lose your polarity in your intestine areas, you're not going to be able to assimilate the food. If you lose the energy, your polarity in your thymus, that's your electrical system for your body. I mean, that's a huge system that regulates your energy. So if you have afternoon, you're tired, you don't wake up on your energy mark, that's your thymus. It's decharged. And so, but these systems, especially intestine areas where all that absorption starts to take place, it's really tough to heal when you're decharged, and then it's really tough to digest when you're decharged. So we got to recharge that body battery by getting out into nature. And Sarah Eileen McCusick, she does tuning fork work she has an incredible tuning fork system that she's developed. I absolutely love it. You can do remote systems. She has practitioners all around the world. She wrote a book called Electric Body, Electric Health. She's written several books, but that one, she talks about the body being a body battery, you get charged from the earth, from the unpolarized waveforms of the earth, and pull those negative ionic charge and get the electrons to feed our body. We get a positive charge from the unpolarized light of the sun. We breathe in minerals, and Zach Bush would say it, from different environments. That's why it's so important to get into different environments and get out into nature. Hopefully we get it from our food, which you're alluding to with the soil depletion, the mineral depletion in the food. So when we can get more biodynamic food, the food's going to help refuel us. And then we get it from the water, minerals in the water, the conductivity of the water. So if you have just a car battery and you don't have water in it, the battery's not going to run. Same with our body battery. If we're missing any of those elements, our body's not going to be optimized and strong and healthy and glowing.
So good. And I mean, I know I know through my yin yoga training, we do a lot of work around fascia and that kind of thing. And you mentioned hydration of the fascia. Can we dig into that a little bit as well, and how the quality of our water affects it, and how we can get better quality water, perhaps?
Definitely. So Gary Lineham is one of my favorite guys to listen to, because he's talking about how the barium, strontium, like all the chemtrails, dehydrate us in our environment. And so we got silica and diatomaceous earth and Irish sea moss to help with that. Ibrahim Karim will say that if there's any change in environmentally, it's from the rollout of this wireless waveforms. They're more disruptive than carbon footprint because it's dehydrating us and our planet. So getting back to hydrating our bodies, you got to get the fascia hydrated, our system hydrated. So diatomaceous earth that has silica. Our earth is made with silica, so are we. That's how we rehydrate it. You can get great water, structured water from watermelon or the fruits, the juice of these incredible fruits right off the vine. Obviously, you can get it through spring water, mountain spring or underground spring water that'll have proper structure. Proper structured drinking water has Fibonacci sequence, where it's more like a honeycomb shape. It goes in a spiral sequence, and our bodies absorb it and grab onto it, and that's how the shape of it, how it's able to rehydrate it. If you have dead water, tap water, distilled water, that'll help clean a lot of stuff out of you, but it's not going to rehydrate you unless you add minerals into it. And so we definitely want to get filtration systems to get rid of the fluoride, aluminum, and then graphene and all the other crap that's in everyone's water, from all the stuff that they're putting into our air as well. So the water topic's a huge topic. You can get water structuring devices that will help give that water formation and structure to it, and those are some of the main talking points for water.
Yeah, nice, because it's so important for, if the fascia gets tight and dehydrated, then we have poor mobility, and that affects so much of our lives. So yeah, digging into these kinds of things, I know there's a lot of talk, here in Australia at least, about solar energy as well. So how does that play into all of this kind of thing as well?
Unfortunately, we're just going the wrong way for looking at the right natural fossil fuels or systems to use instead of like solar, electric, and all that stuff. It's just solar. They haven't figured out how to ground it yet. Because remember, it's the same as like a battery. Sitting on a massive battery in your car, driving an electric car, that equates to 18% lower testosterone for the body. That same battery is now on your house. So that vibration is going to be stronger. So what happens is when you plug in a Stetzer electric meter, and those are like $150 US about, you plug it in the wall, it's STET, Stetzer, STETCER, Stetzer electric meter, and it reads the amps to volts. So it should read 100 or below. Most homes will read 300, 350 or below is like an average home per se. When you have solar on your home, it's going to read over 1,000 to 1,600 on the meter. It's really high static from the vibration of holding on to all that energy to deploy when you want it. And the panels act similar to that battery that sends that faster speed of a polarizing waveform and static through your line. So the solar homes aren't healthy homes at all across the board, unless you've done some crazy mitigation, which very few people are doing and know how to do to mitigate it.
Yeah, interesting. So speaking of mitigation, what are some of the things we can do, to help our bodies overcome these levels of, or these stresses that they're coming into contact with?
will start with solar. Like, if you have to have solar, like, get the battery off your house, get the panels off your house, and have it come in, and definitely keep the panels off the, your head of your bedroom. And I mean, that's a really important point to bring in, as far as other components to learning how to coexist in this new world of all wireless, wearable technology and electromagnetic fields all around us that aren't native ones. There's so many different ways to do it, but the first, I'll walk you through it. Get some meters, measure it, identify these stressors. Because when you can show your child or anybody how crazy noises and sounds that your cell phone makes, they're not going to put it directly up to their head. They're not going to put it in their shirt or over in their waistband, over their ovaries, reproductive, or their organs. They're not going to have laptops over their reproductive organs. They're just not going to have that, because that resonance is going to be too strong, and you can see it on these meters. So get the meters to identify it. Once you identify the stressors, know that there's a proximity protocol to usage with it. Further away, the better. Every inch further, the better. Then once you've identified them, you have proximity protocols. Have established proximity protocols just with your cell phone, your laptops. Put a grounding bag between you and or on your desk, in your bed, in your car. Establish some protocols with getting grounded by nature and our products to create coherences with them. Get out into nature as well. That's huge. Get barefoot, get into bodies of water, touch a tree, hug a tree if that's your thing. Go climb a mountain. Literally touch the Earth's resonance and get outside into nature to recharge your body's battery. I surf a lot and do open water ocean swims and free dive. I'm in the water all the time. That's one of my huge things for grounding. Play beach volleyball barefoot. So any given day, I'm grounding hours out of the day. And walk your dog barefoot, all that. And then in your home, some of the other things is turn your electricity off at night in the bedrooms. Get a timer that's on your electrical panel, and your electrician will do it. And you can have an override switch. You can turn it on and off, or just have a time to go on and off when you're sleeping, because you're not using technology when you're sleeping. So the idea is to get the resonance of your bedroom as low and slow, as close to nature as you can, so you can get into those deeper restorative states. So get a timer, outlet timer for your Wi-Fi router. If you have Wi-Fi, hardwire, it's faster, safer, it's more reliable, minimal health challenges with that. Start smart meters in the US. We can opt out of a smart meter. That's an automated gas and electric meter. They charge a little extra for it, not much at all though, so it's well worth it. If you can't get stuff to like direct that resonance the other direction, so know that your head of your bed isn't on the other side of a smart meter. I mean, these are huge things. Your head of your bed's not on the other side of a refrigerator. The list goes on and on, but those are some of the key points.
Mm-hmm. And you've mentioned health products and grounding bags and that kind of thing. Can we dig into what those grounding bags are?
Yeah, so these are one of the leading sellers in the US, and we sell them internationally as well. A product from emfrocks.com is called a grounding bag. It's literally the Earth's resonance in a bag of hand-mined crystals. There's about 1 pound of crystals in each bag. They're beautiful pink crystals. They have moisture and magnetic properties in them. Shungite, amethyst, black tourmaline, all the other known crystals that have magnetic resonances, they're missing the moisture component. So we use ours, we keep them sealed. We literally use them as is. So this is a grounding bag. And so you'd put this on your bed, at the head of the bed between you and a spouse, and you'll sleep up to 60% deeper. That's what the studies show. Dr. Berlando did a waveform test. The grounding bags clinically passively treat up to 91% of the markers that were disrupting the body as well. So we've done lots of studies to show that when you create a coherence through nature's natural resonance in your home, the body responds really well, similar to being out into nature. And there's protocols. 5 grounding bags in your home will clear 2,000 square feet. 7 will clear with solar in your home. 7 if you drive an electric car and sitting on a massive battery. And then other than that, you want one on your bed, desk, or car seat. We have mini grounding bags. The minis are great for a purse and a pocket or backpack. It's for one person individually on their own, and that'll clear you of your cell phone that you're talking on or extraneous signals when you're on the go. We also have Faraday bags. EMFrocks.com has 2 different sizes of Faraday bags. You throw your phone and it dampens the signal strength to safe levels, so your phone will still ring inside there, but it protects you from your phone, and it slows down the data harvesting. So they're not going to be able to, they can still track and trace you, but they're not aggregating information at record speed. So the life of your battery lasts longer. So those are some of our products that we offer and sell through doctor clinics all around the country.
Yep, interesting. So yeah, I'll pop a link to those in the show notes as well. And so if anyone's keen, they can jump on over and have a look and get some more information. Is there anything else that we haven't spoken about that you'd like to discuss or cover off?
You teed me up, Sarah. One of the biggest challenges with EMF, I mentioned the bigs, cancer, suicide, diabetes, right? Diabetes is one, and going back to why I feel that these waveforms are such a stressor. We had a client that was newly diagnosed with diabetes, childhood diabetes, and they jumped on an airplane. And the mom was wearing the wearable tack, the son had it, and because she didn't want her son to die. So they're monitoring the glucose levels. Well, they jumped up 200 points and the kid got a bloody nose when everyone turned on the Wi-Fi on an airplane. Kid didn't need anything different. Mom's watching this whole thing go down. It was all Wi-Fi related. It's all environmental related. So these are huge correlations. If we don't see it, we don't think it's a stressor. Please start to have a heightened level of awareness and understand that radiation that's man-made is definitely a huge stressor. The lean oil on athleticism.com is a pure MCT oil. Any MCT oil will help buffer the glucose spiking. Ours is just not distilled with all the crap that a lot of the others are distilled with, but I really wanted to share that component too. Those are some big things. The teeth are the gateway to the health. Really get out of using the fluoride toothpaste. The more heavy metals you have in your system, the more they're going to be charged. The same with the shots, like the COVID shot on up to vaccines. They have lots of bad stuff in them, lots of things that will trigger electromagnetic fields because they're basically heavy metals in them. And so when you can chelate and flush that stuff out of you, it's really great. Our toothpaste, we have a toothpaste called Y Clay, WY Clay toothpaste. It's on athleticism.com as well. That helps remineralize your teeth. You can swallow it and help chelate and pull a lot of the heavy metal toxicity out of your system from environmental toxins or stuff that we've got in our body in certain ways.
Definitely. I think, we come across a lot of toxins and that kind of thing. And I think, being able to flush those out and, some of us, I know quite a few people who had to have various vaccines and that kind of thing to work in the fields that they work in the health space and that kind of thing. So being able to, whilst we might not be able to avoid some of these things, being able to, counteract any negative effects that they may have is key. So yeah, definitely agree. So I'll pop a link to those MCTs in the show notes as well. So what is, just to cover off for those who don't know, what is MCT?
Oh, MCT is medium chain triglyceride oil. So long chain would be more the saturated fats where it takes a little longer to absorb. It's a really quick fuel system for a body. So the MCT has gotten really popular from the whole put it in your coffee and then get fuel throughout the day and go into ketosis, and you're not starving throughout the day, so you can start to do the intermittent fasting. Guys have really taken to it because you're still burning fuel, but you're not spiking and crashing and your glucose levels with sugar intake. And so I equate it to, it's like burning a fire with paper. That's the normal average intake for a lot of people. Sugar, spike, crash. When you feed the fire with a log, like sustained fuel, not paper, you're going to have more sustained energy. So you're going to not be hungry. You're going to suppress your appetite. You're going to start to have more energy. Growth factors will grow as well. It's great for your eyes, your teeth, your gums, cognitive function. It just lubricates everything. So MCT oil has a higher flash point as well. You could cook with it too. A lot of people don't really talk about that, but I love it. Take it every day, and have seen some incredible benefits from just not curbing that hunger throughout the day. And you get ripped, you get fit. It helps a lot of people lose weight that are carrying on to this stuff. And other oils like C60, carbon 60, are known to be helpful with EMF challenges as well. So these are other areas that you can help combat weight challenges and just optimize your nutrition overall.
Awesome. Fantastic. And is there, I mean, I know we spoke about MCTs and I've asked this just before, but anything else to add on top of that, or anything else I should have asked but I didn't?
No, just really everybody understand what your environment is and how we're one with nature. We're built on the resonance of the Earth's resonance and the waveforms that the Earth has to offer for us. And that's how we get recharged. Food most often slows us down. It's crazy to think like that, but that's really the first pillar we should go to for health is to look at getting out in nature and getting recharged, and then feeding our body with the proper real nutrition from food and hydration and all. And just get into nature, get your body recharged, and bring the nature's resonance into your home when you can't get out into nature, because we live in these homes, we call them homes, but they're really electrical boxes, essentially. And so shut down that resonance to get it as slow and close to nature as possible. And I can assure you, your vitality, your life force will start to spike up really, really quickly. And we have all the products on athleticism.com, literally energy bites or chlorella and spirulina and MCT oils. You got to get diatomaceous earth and Iris sea moss. You can get that on humangarage.net. They're great products. They'll ship to you. But when you use all these components, these are the pillars for health. Like, they just are. And bringing them together is what allows you to be, strong and healthy and glowing. Like, literally, that's what it is. And identifying that the stressors are, even if they're invisible. And the easiest way to get someone better is, like I said in the beginning, take the radiation off your wrist, get the stuff out of your world, and your body's gonna do what it's supposed to do.
Yeah, it's so good looking at what we can do and anything we can do to help improve our health. So thank you so much for joining me today, Justin. It's been amazing having you on, and good to dig into some of the things that we often don't think in our world that can affect our health. So, and even little baby steps can help improve our health. So thank you so much for coming on today. If anyone's got any questions, I'll include those web links in the show notes. And if anyone's got any questions, by all means, please feel free to reach out to either myself or to Justin. I'm sure Justin and his team would love to answer any questions you may have as well. So thank you so much for joining me today, guys. And Justin, thank you for joining me.
Thank you.